G'day everyone. Before we hop into today's vlog, I just want to remind you to please hit that subscribe button. From now on, I'm going to be putting out daily online poker vlogs. We're going to be tracking my process as I play these 6 max online poker cash games 6 out of 7 days of the week. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get the vlogs as they come out. But for now, onto the vlog.
G'day everyone, welcome back to the vlog. It is currently 10 a.m. on another cold and foggy Melbourne morning here. And obviously, as you guys know from me by now, sleeping until about 10 a.m. is a colossal sleep in for me. But I do have a good reason why I'm slept in so late today, and also a good reason why I didn't put a vlog out yesterday. Yesterday, when I was playing my morning session, I got a text from a friend inviting me to a home game in the evening, and I was a bit hesitant to go at first, but then I'm like, you know what, I'm actually pretty keen to get back in the live poker mix and catch up with some old friends. So I actually stopped playing poker at that point after I had about 500 or so hands in. And then I just took the day off, hung with Elizabeth for a bit, got a bit of a nap in before I went to the home game at about 6, ended up playing until about 2 a.m, got home at about 3 a.m, went back to sleep, and that's why I'm only waking up now. Unfortunately, I didn't film any footage for the vlog. I wasn't quite sure how the host would feel about it, and me being a fish, I didn't actually ask him before I went, but when I went there, he actually would have been cool with me filming footage, but I didn't have anything from earlier in the day, so I didn't have enough stuff to make a vlog, so I do apologise for not putting a vlog out yesterday, but next time I go back to play at a home game, I'll ask the host first if they're comfortable with me doing that, but then I'm sure we'll be able to get some live footage out for you guys. This is an exciting thing to mix back into the routine because obviously I've been playing online a lot recently, but the fact that the restrictions in Victoria concerning COVID are loosening up a bit and you are actually allowed to go visit friends, I'm probably going to mix in some short-handed cash games going forward in the future, so you have that to look forward to on the vlog when it does happen. And not just the home game I went to last night, I've been invited to a bunch of other home games that just hasn't really worked out where I've been able to go yet, but keen to go back to some of them as well. But the plan for today is to play exclusively online poker, looking to play as many A-grade level hands and 1-2-6 max online games as I possibly can. I do think the fact that I didn't play much poker yesterday and I slept in so late today, I do think it's very unrealistic that I will be able to hit my 9,000 hands by the end of the week, so I'm actually going to take the goal back to 7,500. I just don't want to be too stressed about hitting a number that's got to be pretty unrealistic for me to play, about 4,000 hands of A-grade level play in about 1.5 days, but I'm still going to make it 7,500 just to ensure that I do get some volume in, and hopefully it's not too much where I can actually focus and play A-grade for that long. But with all of that out of the way, I am starving at the moment. I need to get some food in me. Let's go cook. Okay, it's about 11 a.m. at the moment and don't have much more time to waste, so I'm going to hop into the poker really soon. The one thing I will say is not going to concern so much about how many hands I do play, just that I do play that A-grade level game, and to make sure I do that, as always, going to practice the self-talk. I really want to try harder at just labeling every single opponent, type that they are, loose passive, tight passive, loose aggressive, tight aggressive, etc. Just want to make really quick notes on that just after the first few orbits at each opponent on each table, and then sort of when I do notice adjustments in their strategies or very specific things that I can exploit going forward in the games, just to really do make notice of it straight away. And once I do that initially, I feel like it'll be easier to just keep going along that same train of thought, and then hopefully I'll get an A-grade session in. So without any further wasting time, let's get in the game. G'day everyone, welcome back
back to the vlog. It is currently about 5:30 p.m. here in Melbourne, and I've just wrapped up my one and only poker session for the day. Was able to get in a total of 3 hours and 21 minutes of poker today for a grand total of 1,039 hands. So obviously pretty low volume, but like I said at the start of the vlog, that was to be expected considering how late I was up last night. So definitely not going to kick myself or downgrade myself because of that. In terms of results from this session, I did end up losing 577, unfortunately. As far as my gameplay grade goes, I'm going to give myself a C+. Some of the things I liked about today's session is I did what I said I would do at the start. When I sat down on my first few tables, I just made a single note of what every person at each of my tables was in terms of their player type. And then as I went forward, I did make adjustments as I played, post-flop with some of the people on the different tables, and I really do feel like that made me have a good read of the dynamics at each table. The reason I have to give myself such a low grade from today is because I did make note of that and I took small edges where I could find them, and then I just started running bad and I ended up losing 2 buy-ins when I got 2 outed, and my set lost to a flush, just stuff like that that's normal. But then I started to tilt, I lost focus of what everyone was doing, and I'm just like, I have to chase my losses, which is obviously a pretty toxic mind state to be in. And then I ended up bluffing off a single buy-in before calming myself back down and resuming my better play. But definitely disappointed that I did end up spewing off a buy-in with a bluff that was not going to work, and I would have known that it wouldn't work if I was paying more attention and more disciplined. Unfortunately, I wasn't, and that definitely contributed to the size of my loss as well. Having said that though, if I played like that for the entire rest of the session, I'd probably be here giving myself an F. But after that, I did come good and I did start playing a lot better, sort of kicked myself and then came back better. So not too harsh on myself today, but definitely not high either, considering the tilt did get to me, which I'm pretty disappointed about, and obviously had a bit of a loss as a result of that. So I'm gonna have to go with a C+ for today. I feel like over the past few vlogs I've put out, I really have been playing pretty good poker, especially in the hand histories I've shared with you. But this next one does go to show that I don't play great poker all the time, and I do make some pretty egregious mistakes, and you'll see what I mean when we get into this next hand, because I'm not very happy with how I played it, to be honest. So let's get into the hand. The action is on a player I've labelled as loose passive, under the gun. They go ahead and raise it up to 5. And the action folds to me in the cutoff, and I have ace king offsuit. I go ahead and 3-bet it to 15. Action gets back to the under the gun player, and they call. So we go heads up to a flop of 10-9-8 with 2 diamonds. We do have the ace of diamonds, by the way, which is important, obviously. So the under the gun player naturally checks it over to us, and then I have a pretty interesting decision whether I want to c-bet here or not. The reasons I would like c-betting are pretty much just because we can represent all of the overpairs on this board. If my opponent did look to set mine pre-flop with a hand like, basically anything pocket sevens through pocket deuces, then they're probably just going to go ahead and fold that now, which is great for us. Having said that though, I think the better option here is just to check. On a board like 10-9-8, my opponent, they're going to have all the sets there whilst I'm not. They're also going to have more straights, being that they're probably going to call with Queen Jack pre-flop, and I might not necessarily always be 3-betting that. And same story with 7-6 suited as well. I am concerned that I'm pretty behind here, and I think even if I did have a stronger hand, this might be a good spot to check a stronger hand, just because I think my opponent's going to stab at it a lot on the turn, even if they don't have that strong of a hand, just because they can represent so much strength. So I think in a perfect world, I would just check this board with a lot of my range, including ace king offsuit. I do make a mistake though. Like I said, this was after I'd encountered some bad beats, and that's not a good excuse to be tilted or anything, but I definitely was in a mind state of I want to give everything back. I'm just trying to be honest with you guys about why I'm making mistakes like this, but I do go ahead and c-bet this board. I go ahead and make it 20, and then the under the gun player does call. And the turn is the 3 of diamonds, so obviously a pretty good turn card for us. We do turn the nut flush draw, and then the under the gun does check it over to us again. And I think in this spot, whether I want to bet here or not is actually a very interesting decision. I think at equilibrium against an unknown opponent, I would definitely go ahead and bet here. Obviously, I have a lot of equity turning the nut flush draw, but I can actually represent a lot of very strong hands here, most notably the nuts. I definitely could have 3-bet ace king, ace queen, ace jack of diamonds pre-flop. Additionally, I do some of my lighter 3-bets are now flushes here. If I did 3-bet like king, queen of diamonds or ace 4 of diamonds, for example, those are hands I can definitely represent here. Having said that though, in this spot specifically against an opponent I've labeled as loose passive, the thing about loose passive opponents is they love to call. So I should be like very selectively and very rarely trying to bluff opponents like this. Perhaps when you do have a hand that blocks the nuts, that might be the one instance where it is a good spot to go for the bluff, but I really shouldn't go for it here. My opponent can definitely still have sets, straights. They definitely could have turned to flush themselves. So I just don't think I'm going to get that many folds against a loose passive opponent here, so probably should just give it up. Like I said though, I'm in an aggressive mind state and trying to win back my losses, which is bad. It's bad poker. Please don't do it. I'm saying that to myself too. I don't want to do this going forward, but like I said, I'm going to be honest with you guys and keep it real, and I was on tilt and I do decide to go ahead and bet 39 here. The action's back on the under the gun player, and they go ahead and check raise it to 100. Ugh. This is a really gross spot for me. I actually think it is very, very likely that my opponent does have a flush here. I mean, obviously they have a bunch of flush draws that they're going to call with on the flop, and they might play it like this. If they've actually made a good read that I do have a lot of ace of diamonds in my range here and they're trying to get max value from those. I say max value, they did actually raise really small. I think there is some merit to consider going all in here against a different opponent type, but I don't think this is the opponent type. I definitely think if they do have a flush, they're just going to snap call my shove, putting me on the ace of diamonds. In fact, I said I wouldn't do it against this opponent. There are many opponents I would rip it all in here against, maybe a very tight opponent who I think might be doing a feeler bet with like a set or a straight. But when someone most likely has a flush, not going to try and bluff them off here. So I do decide to call, which I think my hands are tied is sort of a decision I have to make in this spot. Just hoping we get there on the river. And then the river is the queen of clubs. So obviously we do not get there, but things get a bit interesting because the under the gun player actually checks it over to me, which I was pretty surprised about. They definitely put them on a flush when they raised the turn, and I thought they'd try to get max value on the river. But now that they have checked, I definitely think I should just be checking back here. We didn't get there when we tried to draw to the flush on the river. I definitely think my opponent has a strong hand. Like I said though, and this is bad, I know, but I was in the aggressive mind state. I was making silly moves, trying to win back my losses, which is obviously ridiculous, and it influenced me to do something pretty reckless in this spot. I actually decided to rip it all in as a bluff. Look, I think there is some logic to blocking the nuts here and being a good spot to go for it, but the fact that my opponent raised so small on the turn and probably most likely to actually charge a hand like the naked ace of diamonds, I think that they might have even checked the river to try and induce a bluff from me if I do have one of those hands. So by just ripping it all in here, I'm falling right into their trap, which I definitely should be way like savvier than to be able to fall for something that see-through. So very disappointed for myself for this play. Might actually be one of the worst plays that I've done since starting the Day-Leigh vlogs, unfortunately. I go ahead and rip it all in though. And then unsurprisingly, my opponent snap calls with 6-5 of diamonds. So there you go, to everyone that says I only post hands where I play well. This is one I absolutely butchered and I got maximum punished in a spot I totally should have been able to avoid. I will say from today's session, this was by far the most egregious mistake I made, and the rest of my plays weren't quite at this level of awful. I mean, just hearing this hand, you probably think I deserve an F. I definitely get an F for this hand, but not for the overall session. But I should stop being defensive. This play is awful, and I definitely need to learn from it going forward to not do it again. Always interested to hear what you guys think, though. I feel like most of you are probably going to agree that just checking back the river is definitely the right play, but I think on the flop, whether you want to c-bet or not in this dynamic on this board against this opponent, whether it's good play or not with the ace of diamonds. So hop in the comments below, let me know what you do in this spot on this board in a 3-bet pot dynamic with the ace of diamonds. Do you go ahead and c-bet, or do you play it more cautious, just check to try and induce a bet from the opponent on the turn? that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for watching as always, everyone. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel grow. For now, I'm out of here. Peace.